Can you imagine, right, when you're playing Starfield and you're like half an hour walk tops from your ship and you're like over encumbered, so you can't even sprint. It's going to be well annoying.
Yeah, but surely they'll combat that by making your ship a fast travel point.
No, because you can't fast travel when you're over encumbered.
You're lying.
No, you've never been able to. Hello and welcome to another episode of Code and Colour.
Here we discuss all things digital drawing, animation and video games.
I am the as always, exceptionally perfect host, Tyler.
And I'm going to stick with just Josh.
You're just Josh.
I'm just
There's
Josh.
nothing, but that's pretty on point.
Tom
really,
Brown.
it's
Yeah,
not really a lot going for you. You're just who you are.
Just Josh. That's
Just
who I am.
Josh. Don't take that away from yourself. You know what I mean? You are who you are. You are just Josh.
Just Josh.
And that's okay. It's okay to just be nothing, really, I guess. How have you been, buddy?
And good. I have been. What have I been doing? I've been good. I've been happy. I'm not going to say that I have the S word. That you'll just cry me soon if I say it.
Just think
But
it's out of order.
I've not been too much of that. But
You've been,
I've been
just Josh.
Just Josh. Just. I've been just Jabby. There we go.
That's horrific.
There we go.
I hate that so much.
I have been doing a lot of digital drawing, a lot of traditional drawing, trying to get back into my groove, and I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom.
As always.
It's like my therapy. I even if I'm on like 30 minutes, like I was 20 minutes leaving the house this morning, and Molly's getting baby ready, and he's like doing his thing and making up noises, and I'm just like, can I land on this dragon? For like 20 minutes before I'm due to leave, and Molly's like, are you gonna help me? I'm like, no, I need to see where this dragon goes. So yeah, that's me.
So you're telling me you neglected your wife to see if you could land on a dragon in Zelda?
No, I neglected my child.
Oh well, that's even better.
So I could land on it's all in the details.
That's even better, Josh.
I neglected my child, so I could land on this dragon in Zelda.
Wish I.
You get the facts right.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, got to make sure I know which member of your family you are neglecting.
Yeah, 100%. I saw the abandonment in his eyes. I was like, not today, son.
Good that you didn't. I love Ren. He's an adorable little kid, but there's not a lot going on out there yet.
There ain't no. I was sat behind the door frame, and I was like looking at him, and I was going, and he's like,
I was on the phone to you yesterday, and I just watched. You were talking to me, but I was just watching him, and his head just goes like this, and I was like, okay. There's nothing going on there.
Yeah, it's just like you look at him we were in KFC, shock, and it was like he's in his new pushchair. Well, he's not in his new pushchair. He's in his new attachment to his pushchair. So he's in the big baby pushchair now. No more basket thing going off.
Right.
And he sat there like I'm eating chicken, as you do, and I just I'm always like look at Ren, and Ren's just like just staring at me. So while I was eating my food, I just went. Like that,
You're
and like
gonna
looked
have
at
one
him.
of those children that when they're like toddler stage, everything you open and eat, if they hear slight rustling, they're gonna be like, I want all of it.
Yeah, like running in from the other room, like, what are you eating? What are you eating? And like you're just like looking at me like enthralled, and I like turned, and she was like, I wonder what you do if you just like looked at him like really angrily. So I was just like, and he goes, I was like, I'm never gonna be able to discipline you, child, So he was just like, I was like staring him out like. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm like,
it.
fail.
Love it.
Sorry, digress. How have you been, my friend?
Massively. Yeah, I've been not too shabby, as it were, as always. We've been finished playing Miles Morales, which was fun. Enjoyed that.
Did you prefer it over Spider-Man PS4?
No.
Not even remotely. No. You can't. No. Just no. Sinister Six is in Spider-Man 4. No, Spider-Man PS4. That's it.
Yeah, I guess so.
It plays better. It does play better, and the animations are a bit
I think
more
it has a
smooth.
lot more mechanics that are more interesting as well. Miles Morales just seems like he's so OP. So I'm wondering how they're going to deal with that. Because they're going to need to up like Spider-Man's, like Peter Parker's abilities in the next one. Well, yeah, that's probably their answer to it, isn't it? So he's going to be the symbiote. But yeah, no, enjoyed that. Enjoyed playing that. What else have I been doing?
Playing Pokemon.
Started playing Pokemon again. Don't know why. Just felt like playing it. Always have. Every now and then I just get like a real craving to play some of my older games. So I started playing Pokemon Scarlet again. On subject of Pokemon, I got all my old cards out because I decided I've been watching loads of stuff on like TikTok and like YouTube and stuff of some collectors and sort of the value for cards, and I know that I've got some semi-decent cards, so I started looking online at like the value of some of my cards, and some of them are like £300-400 each, so I'm like, nice.
Do you know what my takeaway
might be
from
sitting
that?
on a small asset.
Yeah, well, I believe so too. But do you know my main takeaway from that whole situation? You was like, I have Pokemon cards, and I never even thought for a second the man who's massively into Pokemon, like, would have Pokemon cards. Like, it just never, like, I was like, oh, he's massively into the games, and I never correlated the two to be like, I wonder if he's got Pokemon cards. And then when you started pointing them out, I was like, of course he has.
Of course I have. I've also got. I've had the Bulbasaur card up there for ages.
That's true. Yes, you have had that.
Yeah, I've got loads of Pokemon cards. I've got a couple of thousand cards, I'd say.
Oh, fair. Got them in like a briefcase.
No, they're in a tin. I need to get a. They're in a Pokemon tin. I need to get a folder, I think. Especially if I'm sitting on some assets, I need to start treating them better. So yeah, I've been looking at them. What else have I been doing? I've been playing a game, but it's one of my recommendations for the week, maybe. So we'll have to find out about that one later.
Controversial.
Yeah, I've actually spoken about this game in the past, and I got an opportunity to play it. But it's not what you're probably thinking, which is Jet Set Radio. Unfortunately, it's not that. Because that's not available on PlayStation. And if it was, you probably wouldn't see me.
I think it's Age of Empires. That's what I'm saying.
I wish it was Age of Empires. It's not.
I bet you're fun playing a strategy. I bet you're hilarious playing a strategy.
Oh,
take it! Like you're just like Overlord. Like, take my thousands of men.
Nah, I am one of those. I'll sit back for a while. I'll build up an empire, and then you'll come and try and attack me, and then. As the fog of war slowly uncovers, you're like, holy crap. What?
This man has been using his resources well and has been sat next to all the resource points.
I wonder where all the trees went.
I did that. Playing with my dad. I can't remember if it was Command and Conquer or it was like Cossacks or whatever it was. And he used to attack me straight away and like wipe me out really shortly. But then I was in a place where we had to develop enough of a base to sort of, I think, go across the sea. And you had to develop like a boat, and eventually, like, I got men onto a boat, and I got into this thing, and I was like, oh. And what he'd done is he'd created like a base, you know, like Gondor, where it has like the base at the bottom where all the boats and ships go, and then the main like city and that. And I was like, oh, what's he been doing? Has he just been creating ships and just been exploring the place? What's he been doing? And mate, the fog of war started to clear, and it was like he had like 10,000 things on it, and I was like, I have severely overestimated this. I'm getting back on my boat, and I'm fortifying my area. You know, I was like, no, thank you. He's not even going to know I'm here.
You can't rush these games, especially when you're playing against people that are like dead into these games. You can't rush a strategy game. There's a reason why it's a strategy game, right? You got to wait it out. You got to utilize. I like those games because you got to utilize the map. Yeah. Like, utilise the environment around you, which I think is cool. But no, it wasn't that. What else have we been doing? We've done a lot of drawing, which kind of segues nicely into what we're going to talk about today, which is, well, so we set a drawing challenge last week, and we do a segment on it, but we decided to make this particular subject the entire episode subject for that matter. So we've both been doing some drawing. And I don't know if you remember, we are drawing some Ninja Turtles in the wake of the release of Mutant Mayhem. And we had to draw one digitally and one traditionally. And we're going to compare it and talk about the pros and cons of both. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Bingo. So this week, traditional versus digital drawing. So obviously digital drawing is very self-explanatory. It's basically the entire premise of what we do on this show. But for traditional drawing, for those that obviously can't put two and two together, it's essentially drawing on paper. Yeah. The more traditional, or painting, or anything of that sort of description. Anything that's not done digitally, you know. But for us, we both have drawn in sketchbooks, and I'm quite intrigued to see how we have tackled this, because I think we've both gone for very different techniques and styles, and use different, tools, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna look into them, and we'll discuss how it went, the techniques we used, and we'll show them both. And then I think what we'll do is kind of work out the pros and cons of both. So let's do it. Josh, you volunteered to go first on showcasing your traditional one, haven't you?
A volunteer as tribute. Yes.
Good.
I went with everyone's favourite Ninja Turtle. That guy right there, Leonardo.
Wait, so you've drawn? I wonder if we've both drawn the same turtles in the reverse. Have we done that? I think
No, because you did another one.
Okay, cool.
Your pencil's different to mine. Thank you. So.
Wow. Whoa. That.
What's your thoughts?
Holy crap! I was not expecting that at all.
No. So.
What? That's insane.
I drew a A3. It's on A3 paper on a sketch pad that I found, and I thought, you know what, I want to draw something bigger, which is also, I think, a discussion as well. Like we draw a lot on an iPad, and we have a certain screen that gives us certain resolutions, and it helps to sort of make the screen bigger and pinch and all that sort of jazz. Which I'm not gonna lie, I did pinch a few times on here when I couldn't.
Yeah,
see the
I
detail.
also did as well.
So what I did was I sketched out what I wanted to draw. I basically wanted to draw him. I initially wanted to draw him bursting through a wall, like knees up, like he's like ready to like fly through the wall. But I thought, I'm going to draw more of him because he'll be really sort of tucked in together. And then I did a black outline with a fine tip black pen.
Yeah, I used some black fine tips as well.
Yeah, and then I went over him with alcohol markers. I was going to say Copic, but Copic's the brand. It was a Ohuhu markers.
Some knockoff Copic ones.
Yeah, cheaper. So much cheaper, but just still do the job. And then I went over and did a bit of cross-hatching on his body there, and there's some cross-hatching on there. But I sort of built up the colour with
Bring
this.
it closer so we can sort of see some of the detail as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that works. So I sort of use different shading on his sword.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. He got the cross-hatching on his legs, and then I did different colours on his shell.
Yeah.
And then on his arm especially, I built the layers in, and on his face.
That's insane.
So
for those that are listening, by the way, we will be putting versions of this on our Instagram, so you can see them. Obviously, for those not watching on YouTube, we'll put uploads of all 4 images that we've got on there for you. Josh,
yeah.
I mean, it's insane. I've got some questions. So you have approached it very differently. So the pens. So I never really draw with pens, and the big issue I find with the pens is that I find the ink can be quite difficult to control the direction of it. How did you find that side of things?
So with regards to this little guy, the Copic markers have a really good function where they blend. They are designed to be blended and designed to be pushed around, and you actually get a translucent marker that is for blending the colour.
Oh, right, okay.
The page, and it'll give you that blending sort of marker look. They're designed to sort of, for me, there's pros and cons to them, and I think it's more of a an understanding of them rather than the fault with the markers themselves. If I could do this again, I wouldn't have used black.
Yeah, so I mean, if you hold it up again, it does. I think. So I wanna just caveat this by saying I think it's a fantastic piece of artwork, and I think we can all agree, like, the shading, it really pops as an image. I think you lose a lot of detail in the shell because of it's quite dark, which I think it's not like, I don't know what the word is. It doesn't distract from the image a little bit too much. I just think it's that's kind of where I would make some changes.
Yeah, like even on his arms as well, I'd use like a darker green or a grey.
Yeah.
I'd use something that's more, like black is I've worked out is very finite. It's black. Like you can't go back from black. Once it's down,
That's it. It's there.
Behave. Once it's
that wasn't what I was laughing at. Josh,
once it's there, you can't get rid of it. And it's very much like a point of no return. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Once you're putting black down, you've got to be sure that's exactly where you're going to put it. So for me, I would have probably gone for more of a darker brown. I had about 40 colours to work with, but they were they're varied, and they're not like, prime red, green, yellow, blue. They're like mint green, one sapphire for a blue, which is like the dark.
Yeah, they're obviously designed to be blended, right?
Yeah, they are, but they're not like, there is like 400 colours or 300 and odd colours in total, which, there will be a red for that thing. There will be a purple for that thing. I just haven't got the funds or the capacity to have them. I was trying these out and I bought these for like a cheap price of about 20 quid on Amazon. So I thought, I'll get the colours I've got and I'll make something from them. That's one of the cons to it. Obviously, there is the price point. You've got to buy these, but again, it's the same like with like the digital side of it.
Yeah,
you've got your whole palette, but then you're kind of spoiled for choice about which color you would use and this. Whereas like but for me, I enjoyed it. I like I said, I drew it out. I drew the sketch out. The sketch changed a few times. I did it faintly, and then I once I was like, that's what the image I want. I black outlined it, and then I just went at it with Copic markers, and I just kept building that layer. They're very similar to the way we do it digitally. We put a layer on top, or we what's the mask it? Clipping mask. We mask whatever colour we've got, and then we use that colour to build on top of it, and just keep building the layers. With the alcohol markers especially, that they do build layers. There's I really enjoyed it. For me, this is a book of like, I'm going to put things in here that are really good and that I really enjoy. I'm not just going to do like little sketches and stuff. This is going to be something like, I'm going to sketch it somewhere else and go, this is what I want to do, and then make it into this. This is going to be my book of awesome things. The problem with said book, though, which I showed you earlier on, was they bleed. Unless you get good quality paper.
There's your downside to
Has it
the
bled
pens,
through?
I guess.
Let me just see if it's bled through. No,
just a little.
Just
no, it hasn't.
Oh, it's just. Hang on a minute, I'm losing my headset. So just that little smidge there, right in the centre.
Yeah.
But I can deal with that. I can deal with it being a smidge in the centre. But that's very much like.
This is definitely a con, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, you've done a fantastic job, and you rose to the challenge, which I'm impressed to see, because it's not what we're used to. It's certainly not, and I know you felt quite passionate about trying to learn traditional, and forced me to do it, which I guess brings me on to my one. So traditional definitely for me took me massively out of my comfort zone. Like, the small details that we're aware of, like, we can't pinch, we can't zoom in. That for me, I think I overthought about it far too much as well. The problems that I might face. For example, I thought me drawing in pencil, I was like, what if rubbing it out isn't going to have the same effect? But if I'm being truthfully honest, it wasn't as difficult to like remove evidence of like the earlier sketching as I did. So I went for a different approach, and obviously this is for full disclosure. This is the size of my note, like my sketchbook. It's tiny. Like that's my hand. It's slightly smaller than my hand, so it's quite a small sketchbook. And I'm definitely having I know you're using it for like, you know, big grandiose pieces to do your sketches. This is just going to be my little quick sketch here and there where I want to draw. And I have been doing other drawing in it since. But for the sake of this challenge, I drew Donatello, and I went for the kind of the image that he looks in the most recent film, Mutant Mayhem. So this is him right here.
Oh,
A much more different approach to how you've done yours. A lot more, I'd say, simpler. I think I didn't overcomplicate it a lot, but that's what I've gone for. So I have specific, like sort of, I use pencils, and I outlined it with a black pen. I got some sketching pens, and I outlined it with that. I initially drew with just pencils, and then again I rubbed that away. I think pencils. For me, the difficulty is you can't really make the image pop with a pencil. But I found you can get some nice colours from it, and I find it's easier to blend pencils than it probably is pens. I think pencils are more designed for blending than pens are. Pens, because they're quite a sharp like tool, I guess. It's quite difficult. Like every color comes out quite prominently, whereas with a pencil you've got a little bit more control as to, you know, how much. Like if I don't press down too hard on the pencil, it won't come out so rough or so bright, and it will come out more like faded and things like that. That's him. I definitely found it a challenge, but it didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to take me, which I thought was a surprise. But I think for me, my big struggle, but it's something that's nice for me to learn. My big struggle is that I can't just go into individual layers, and I can't just if I don't like it, I can't just go, I'll scrub that whole thing out and start again.
Yeah.
If I don't like something, I've got to just do it all again.
Yeah, or like I had my trouble with his arm, especially on here, like this top arm here. I felt like he might needed to move his head somewhere, but I'd already drawn his head and outlined his head, and I was like, and I don't think I'd coloured it in with the black pen. I don't think I coloured it in yet, so I could have done it, but the whole thing is, I'd have to rub the whole top part of his body out and redraw that somewhere else in some other dynamic, and that is it. Once you're certain with traditional, you have to be certain.
Yeah, you do. Once you've decided on a pose, you kind of have to run with it.
Yeah.
And I did have to at one point move his shoulder. So on this side, I had to move his shoulder from here. I had to, because it was quite high up, and it made him look like he was like this. It kind of just looked like he looked like he had no shoulders, and it just kind of looked a bit odd. So I had to lower it, and it kind of needed to do so to help me separate the shell from him as well. And I was getting a little bit worried as well, because before I'd coloured it in, it didn't look like the shell and the arm looked separate. They kind of looked like they were one thing, and it was looking really strange. So yeah, those are some of the challenges that I faced with it. I really enjoyed doing it. It's certainly a medium I'm going to start exploring more of. I think for me, traditionally drawing has helped me kind of realise that I might be a lot further along in my drawing journey than I thought I was. But I still don't know if I prefer it to digital.
Interesting.
What about yourself?
Well, before I answer that, with regards to your pencil side and my alcoholic marker side, sounds like I've got a problem there. The sweet spot I've noticed through watching many a YouTube video is using both.
Yeah.
So you'd do for your main pop shoulder, like you'd so say for instance I was doing Leo's shoulder on here.
Interesting, yeah.
I'd colour round the base of it in marker to give it that shape, that definition. And then as I'm getting lighter to the centre, I'd use a lighter colour and just bring it in. And then I'd finish in the centre of the arm with a pencil, with a coloured pencil. And it brings it and blends it all together. And you get that 3D, like artist standard blend and colour that makes it, you've got the pop of the shoulder, but you've also got the in-depth colour and the dynamic lighting and sphere of that skin tone. So that is the sweet spot that I've found. Ironically, I watched the video after I did this, which would have been a massive help. I watched her do colour a ball in, and I was like, that ball looks amazing. But yes, for me, I agree. I think it. I started this piece. You know when you start something, you go, I'm going to draw this thing that's in my head, and then you start drawing it, and you're like, I'm really crap at drawing. With this, it was like I had an image in my head, and I tried to draw it, and I was like, I don't like that. So I redrew another image, and it came out how I wanted it to, in my head. I was like, this is how I want it to look, and then I took a leap of faith with the black being, I'll just shade it like Jim Lee does on DC Comics, and big shady bits and big bits of black in your image, and be free with it. And I rolled the dice with it, and I enjoyed it, and it was one of those things where I'd drawn a lot on digital, and we have both of us have drawn a lot on digital. Once we found our groove, there was nothing we couldn't draw. So for me to sort of blast this out in traditional was again a place that says, oh, actually, I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. I'm more inclined to think I actually prefer doing stuff digitally, just because I feel I just don't think that digital is as connected as putting a pen to paper and just watching that lead draw a circle and just putting stuff together and building it up as much as because you can chop and change things, like you say, you can delete a layer and the whole right side of his body will disappear. It's very chop and change. It feels, for me, it feels like I'm pouring my soul into this drawing right now, and this is it. I don't get a do-over. I get to change stuff at the beginning, but once it's locked in, it's locked in. And for me, I found it very therapeutic. Like I do get therapy with doing the digital side of it, but for me, it was just going up with Copic markers and Copic with alcohol markers and trying to blend and trying to work it out, and that sense of adventure. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. It certainly felt rewarding, and it certainly felt like I said, for me, it felt like I could finally, appreciate that I can draw. Because I think for a while with digital, I think sometimes I felt like I had imposter syndrome. Because I felt like I couldn't really relate to artists because I hadn't learned it properly, because I just went straight to digital without doing anything on paper. And now I'm doing it kind of in reverse, which feels really odd. But I think for now I'm kind of starting to appreciate that I can do this, and it's not like I'm just sort of taking the easy way out. Don't get me wrong, digital is not by any stretch of imagination an easy way to draw things. Obviously there is a lot of ease of access with it, but it presents its own challenges, and it definitely isn't as easy as well. But I still think I prefer things digitally, just because I think the only limit is my imagination, whereas on paper, I think I'm more limited. Probably because I've not got the tools, but I've got all the tools on here. I've got everything, and I still, I can draw what I want. And if I can't find a specific brush type, well, I'll just go and find it, or I can make it. I will continue with traditional drawing because I would like to explore that avenue. And see what I can achieve. But let's have a look at the digital artwork and sort of see where we're at with that one. So,
Yeah.
Josh, what you got for us?
So, in hindsight, maybe I should have done both same turtles, then I could have done a comparison. But I chose the ever...
Well, I
awesome-
did 2 different turtles as well.
Yeah. So I drew, and bearing in mind, this has been a project for a while, I drew Raphael. So, there he is.
That
In
is
all
cool.
his
He is
splendor.
cool. He's not finished, is he? Where's
He's
his
not.
foot?
He needs to get a wall in front of his foot, but I ran out of time. But he is here, and
I like him. He looks sick.
he does need a few things doing to him. I do need to put a wall in front of him and do a background. But from what I got to, it just I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning like what I would do and how I would do like a definition across his body. And let me get some light on there so I can not break it out. Let me dim the brightness on here. There we go. Let's see if that works a bit better. There we go. So yeah, I can
Bring it closer.
There
There
we
it
go.
is. There
There
it is.
it is. So I can, I worked on his the colours in his eyes, the fingernails, the size that he used. I added the bandages right at the end.
I like the little details you've got in this one.
Yeah,
To be fair.
yeah, and like when you zoom in on his pouch, like he has different shades around his pouch
Yeah.
and there. But it just, I enjoyed it. I did. And I do like enjoy doing the digital side of it. I felt more connected with doing my traditional piece than this sort of side of it.
Yeah.
But
I think it shows as well. I think, I'm not going to... Raph looks amazing there, don't get me wrong. Like, that is a fantastic... You've produced 2 fantastic pieces of artwork. I think you can see that you put a lot more love and effort into the other one. It feels like you really, really engaged with that piece. And it's interesting to see that. Because I remember when you started Raph, and it was a while ago. And I don't get me wrong, I think he looks fantastic, but I think in terms of just the final result, I think I prefer your traditional one just because he looks like the pose is a lot more dynamic. He is just visually he's far more interesting to look at, I guess. But I do think, both are fantastic pieces.
He too is also on an A3 sized canvas on here as well. So I did the measurements, found out what A3 was on Procreate, and he is A3 sized on there as well. I think I will get to finishing it. I mean, I've added like little scars and stuff, but it's been a sort of a learning journey with it, and it just, I don't know, you're right, it grabbed me more doing it traditionally, being like, oh, I can feel it, I can see it, and the colours are there. Like, yeah, I think it might be digital art fatigue for myself.
Okay.
I think because we have drawn a lot. I think doing something new and something different, sort of, it still expands our horizon in terms of the art dynamic. But I think for me, it's just I'll be doing traditional for a bit now, and then dabbling back into doing some.
I think
digital
I'm going to
art.
mix it up with the both, but this is my my digital piece. So I did Leo. Yeah, I did Leo. I did Leonardo as well, which it's interesting because this is my favourite piece. It's interesting that both of our favourite pieces are Leo.
Yeah.
But this is what I came up with.
I love that. I love that pose.
Yeah.
I like the fact he's only got one sword. I like that. I like the fact you chose one sword, like not like a two-pronged approach. Like I was like, oh, he's going to get his other sword out.
Well, the other one is there. He just hasn't drawn it out.
Yeah, he's holding one, and the one's in the other back. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm coming at you like baseball style. Let's have it, son. I love it.
He's one of the cooler ones I've drawn, and so I really liked it, and I made a creative choice not to fully colour him apart from like the details that make him Leo, which is that he's blue. He's the blue turtle. I really liked it. Just from the minute I put the pen to the pad, it just did itself. It's just like I felt like I didn't even think about it. It just came together so nicely. I had to make some few adjustments like minor adjustments along the way, of course. But I just really, really preferred it. Again, the pose is a lot more dynamic than the other one I drew. I think for me, I was afraid of the traditional one. I was afraid of getting it wrong and getting bored and just not doing it. So I went with something I kind of felt like I could do. Whereas I feel like I'm confident with digital drawing now. I've experimented with a lot of different posing and characters in the past, and this just sort of came together really easily. I made a few the creative decisions. So it's in black and white bar the blue. I added the white details to a few of his like key elements just to sort of make them pop. I really like at the top of the sword there's like that little like swoosh thing kind of going on there. So that's my Leo. I definitely think I preferred it digitally, as I've said. I think I am going to continue with traditional, and I'm going to continue to draw digitally. Since I've drawn both of these, I have done a piece of each extra. I drew a picture of Boba Fett on traditional, and I drew a picture of Miles Morales on digital. So I'm trying to alternate it because again I agree with you in the sense that I don't want to burn out in that regard. So I'm kind of enjoying just pushing the boat out and trying some different things, mixing it up, seeing what I can do with both different mediums. But I think the pro for me for digital is that, like I said, I've got a lot more options. The colours, the brushes, the tools that I have, and I like that. I think however, I can see how it kind of comes across like it's a bit like it's a cheat sheet. I feel like you do get it easier digitally because I'm like, oh no, that doesn't look right, so I'll just rub that out.
Yeah. In terms of like tools and stuff, like I forgot to discuss on mine, and I think we should go into like how we did it. I told you how I did Leonardo, but I didn't tell you how I did Raphael.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, so obviously the same principle starts with. It all starts with a drawing. Plug.
Very good.
And then you build up, obviously, from there. You'll add your outline, which perks of digital drawing. I can show you this, Yeah. And then from there, I would let me just hold on to there and bring everything back in. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's the blue tinge I had on there. And then I'll take everything back off. And then I would add colour and then put a clipping mask over said colour to then do his, shading on his bicep, under his eyes, and then like the scratches and stuff on his kneecap, knee pad, sorry.
Yeah, I like the little details that you have, and I like the bandages. They look really cool, I think.
So... broke up a little bit there. You just went, I like the little details, and you went off. Shall we just carry on?
I like the bandages that you've done, and I like the little details. I think they look really cool. So I really like I really like certain elements of your Raph. But yeah, I think this has been a really interesting challenge for me, because I think, like I said, we've explored different styles, and I plan on exploring that and getting more tools. I think for me as well, I think a big con to physical drawing, traditional drawing, is it's not as cost effective as it is on my iPad. Like, I've paid for my iPad and I've got Procreate, and that's it. Obviously there's a lot more upfront costs with doing it digitally. I totally get that, but if I want more pencils, I have to go and buy them. If I was like, what if I paint? Well, I need to go and buy all that. Okay, well, what if I wanted to, colour it in with pens? Well, now I need to go and buy all that. I don't have it all there. I think that for me is a little unsettling, and again, I think that will restrict my art style. But I'm willing to fork out the costs. However, I'm not at this point because I want to get more comfortable with doing it traditionally before I go, okay, let me buy all the tools I need, because I'd rather not be one of those people that's got all the gear and no idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I do agree with you on that sort of front. I think I had most of it already, because obviously I started traditional, and then I moved on to obviously going down the digital route, because I was like, I need infinite amount of paper, an infinite amount of brushes, and like infinite amount of ideas. But I think I needed that, like that worry that, oh, this is it. You know, if it goes wrong, this is it.
It kind of, I think when you have that in your mind, you kind of pay a lot more attention to it. You kind of, I get what you mean, to be fair.
So shall we list off a few pros and cons about what we think?
So let's start with traditional.
Yeah. So pros, feel.
Yeah, I think the feel is a good one. I think it's nice. You do have that connection, whereas it doesn't just feel like a stylus on a screen. So I agree with feel.
Pop, vibrancy. I think your Donatello is great, and I said this when you were sort of starting it out, and you was like, I'm using coloured pencils. I think yours could have popped more should you have used Copic markers and gone down that sort of pencil, that mixy route. But maybe. I like what you came up with in the end anyway. You know, so that for me, I think it's hard to compare them with like digital side and say that they the reason why they pop is because you've got such a bright screen and you're using such bright colours, and you know you're finding that sort of. I think they pop because it's very white colour and that sort of distinction. Whereas with this, I've sort of built the layers of the colour and I've had that marker sort of pop sort of thing. So I liked that sort of side of it. I think it's. I think it's more relaxing. And I think it's because I was just sat at a table, just being 7 years old again, just like all the way around, drawing big strokes of pen, and this can go here and this can go there. I'm not bothered about being in the lines. Like I drew, like he's got green in his mouth. I'm like, man, there's a turtle. He's probably got bad breath, you know. And I just wasn't bothered about it. Like, and I think that I did take the care to be like, oh, I need to put this colour here, or I need to do this here. But again, I wasn't seeking that perfection like I do with the digital side of it. Like I was like that when you digital, you've got that loop of like, oh, that black outline's not straight enough, or not curved enough, or it's got a bit of jank in it, and you're like, start again, and you're doing the same black line 15 times to get that. I need that bicep to have that certain curvature, that certain colour, and it's got a scar in it, and that scar's just a bit off, and I think with this it was just like, whatever, you know. I'm going to put colour, it's going to be green, I don't care if it's got a bit of blue in that green, you know. It was just what it is. I
think the pro for me, traditionally, is it felt real. It felt like a real piece of artwork. I think, like I said earlier about the imposter syndrome, I think that's always been a bit of a con for me, and then I'll talk about that again in a minute. But I think for me, the pro is that I feel like I've taken the next step into my art journey, and I actually can draw. Like, I know I've said that already a few times, but that it's been reassuring for me in that regard. But what about a few cons?
Cons. Cost. Paper. It's the bleed through. You've got to buy expensive paper. It's finding out what kind of paper works. You know, with an iPad,
there's a lot more trial and error.
Yeah, with Procreate and the iPad, it's you're just deciding what kind of size canvas you want, and then you can print that off, and it doesn't matter what paper you put it on. You decide what paper you want as your final product, rather than trying to work out what would be best for what medium you're going to use, and if it's going to be water-based colours and this and that. Cons, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
Yeah. There's no going back either.
There are ways to get around it, that you can use gouache, white gouache, to sort of block things out and draw over it and go again.
Yeah.
I watched a guy who did like just inking videos, and he went, what happens if you just drop a big blob of ink on your thing? And he's like, I have to get like white paint or white gouache to paint it out, let it dry, and then draw over it, and just hope you can't see it. I think it's a lot of space as well. Whereas
it's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, like it is a unit, like it's an A3 pad. But like if you're drawing, like I've drawn Leonardo and I'm like, I'm happy with that. That's fine as it is. But if I wanted to then draw a background and draw this, it's just not as... I could take Procreate, and like I did with Miles Morales, I could do a few lines and then add a bit of noise to it and spin it around and twist it, and I've got a background. Yeah. With this, if I wanted to have a background, I'd have to draw a background geometrically and do everything, correct. Another con is straight lines. I need a ruler. I had to go buy a ruler.
Obviously with Procreate you can just hold 2 fingers down, right?
Yeah,
and it would straighten out the line for you.
Yeah. So, you draw your line and then you put your finger on it, or if you draw a circle, it'll give it an oblong or a square, whatever it may be. With this, I've forever trying to find things to draw against it. I had to go buy a ruler because I was like, it's just not working, bruv. So, and drawing like his bandana, the curves and the in the top of his bandana itself, like here trying to get that like bend in there so it'd look organic. If I'd have done that in Procreate, I'd have done that 40,000 times until it was perfect. And for me, it was just like having that sort of decision making of being like, that's it. I can't keep going at it. Yeah. I think it's there's a lot of things to say, like cost, and you are right, like all gear, no idea kind of thing. But the same caveat to that is, we bought iPads, which is that you either have the upfront cost or you just slowly make up the upfront cost as time goes on. Like, I'm going to draw things that can have... hot scoop. My next drawing, I think, it might not be, and I was basing it around the markers that I've got, because I haven't got any deep reds or deep blues. I can't draw like a Spider-Man or a Superman, but I've got a lot of greys and a lot of like metallic colours and metallic blues. I was like, I could draw a Predator. It's a lot of greys. So that was going to be like my next drawing, is like probably draw the feral Predator from Prey, and try and sort of use what I've got to put that together. Yeah. I have not yet started it, otherwise I'd show you it. And that's one of the drawbacks, is I am limited by the stuff that I've got, because if I did have 200 quid, I'd buy all 300 markers and I'd have a box of markers as big as my desk and be like, oh yeah, that'd be fine. But I'd have a red that'd be the perfect red for whatever. I need all the 4 colours that would be a good blend. Yeah, I think that's about it. Also, black is your enemy. In terms of pens, before anybody, memes me.
It's fine. It's fine.
Black,
okay.
Black pens, black colours, are a difficult beast to tame. But that was a thing. I am happy with the piece I came out with, but I would use less black next time.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
What about
nice
pros and cons for digital drawing?
So I would say the pros. Obviously, we kind of listed a lot of them as we've been going along, but I think a massive pro is I have they don't take up as much space.
No.
That is my sketch. Like, this is my sketchbook. I don't use my iPad for anything else other than to draw.
Mm.
So mine is just filled with all the artwork that I've ever done. And I haven't got to worry about it going anywhere. It's just there.
Mm.
But I think what's really what makes a pro of a sketchbook is that's a physical thing that I can look through, and it's just all together in like a nice thing. I guess you don't really have the same effect with the sketchbook of, you know, an iPad. I've got to go into individual drawings. It's kind of not as aesthetically pleasing, I guess, in that regard. But more pros is that, yeah, you know, infinite brushes, infinite colors.
Yeah.
Any shade of any color is available to use. So, you know, that is always a pro.
It's very safe doing it on the iPad, I always think.
Yeah.
Because you can just undo it. You know, oh, that line's not good.
If you make a mistake, I can undo it or rub it out. You know, it's an easier way to do it, but you know, I'm not saying it makes drawing easier, because you still have to have a level of skill to do it. And then that's not me saying, you know, that I'm super skilled and a super talented artist. I'm not by any means, but it's been an easier way for me to learn to draw, because I'm not just frustratingly ripping up bits of paper and throwing them in the bin. Like, if I make a mistake, cool, I can just adjust it slightly. And I think it's helped train me get familiar with shapes, because, like I said, with that Leo, like, that was quite easy to draw. And I think my brain is learning where things need to be positioned now a lot easier. And I think what I like is I can see the physical journey I've gone on. And I think with digital, especially using Procreate, I like the time lapse. I like to be able to look back and go, wow, this is the journey I went on for this piece. Obviously, you can't do that physically. Cons, yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, a lot of upfront costs. I think, like I said, the imposter syndrome. I think you can worry about the authenticity of your piece. Will people take you seriously as an artist? And I don't know if that is necessarily the case. I think people appreciate the art, but not the artist in that regard. People like the picture; it's a cool picture, but I don't think people go, "Oh, like that's a cool piece of art." Yeah, and it wasn't until I've done a piece a while back when I did the head with the flowers. I think that's the first piece people have gone, "This is a really cool piece of art," but before then it wasn't really like that. I guess I think there's a lot more appreciation for drawing things physically on traditional paper. So yeah, those are some of the things. But this has been a really, really interesting journey, and I think I've really enjoyed this challenge. I really enjoyed how much we both rose to the challenge. And I definitely will be exploring that avenue. I actually have changed, because on the caption for my Instagram used to say my journey of my digital drawings. Now it just says the drawings that I do, because I've now got a couple of pictures on there that are physical artwork rather than digital. So it's definitely, I'm going to explore that avenue. I'm definitely going to start implementing it into my work. Yeah, been a lot of fun.
And if anyone out there has listened to this and they have any digital drawings or have any physical drawings, traditional, show us. Tag Code and Colour in it.
And let us know what your challenges are and where the differences are for you. Like, we'd love to hear more about it.
Absolutely.
Because we always appreciate people's work. Yeah. But yeah, so to kind of wrap things up there, because we've been chatting a lot. It's back to me with the recommendation, and my recommendation is an old game, but it's a PS2 game, but it is on PS5. I found it and it was only like a $5, so I was like, I'm getting it. And it's a game that I've never actually played until now, but I really wanted to play it as a kid, and that is called Dark Cloud. And it's amazing little action adventure game. It's very fantasy based, a bit of a dungeon scroller kind of game as well. I really wanted to play it as a kid. I had the demo disc with it, and you could only play like the first dungeon, and that was it. And I never got to play the rest of the game. I wanted it so badly as a kid, could never get it. And now I've got it, and I'm gonna play that game, and I'm gonna. A 10, 11-year-old Tyler is going, hell yeah, baby. So I'm going to play that game, and that is my recommendation for this week. It's on PS5. Go and get it. I want to know what you guys think. It's so fun. I love it. It's so adorable. Go and play it. Cheers.